Proverbs chapters 9 and verse 7 says, He that reproveth a scorner getteth to himself shame, and he that rebuketh a wicked man getteth to himself a blot. I want to give our praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Harakah, Kodash. Double honors to all the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and salutes to all the sincere elect out there. Keep fighting. You're almost out of this bitch. So we're gonna home in on some of the words here, words of wisdom. This is the opportunity. Land backing off one of the elders, or the live on Saturday gone with the elders. I'm just gonna home in a little bit more on this particular verse here, because this is what's happening right now in Israel. And you know, you got the Genesis camp, and you got the HOI Elder Zabak. And let me just read again. Proverbs 9 and 7. He that reproveth a scorner getteth to himself shame, and he that rebuketh a wicked man getteth himself a blot. Reprove not a scorner, lest he hate thee. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love thee. Alright, man. That's when you reprove a wise man, he will love you, man. You know, he'll make the changes, necessary changes. Alright, clean himself up. And while he's doing that, he'll thank you. He'll show gratitude, because that's the ways of a wise man. Reading on. Give instructions to a wise man, and he will be yet wiser. Wiser, there you have it. Teach a just man, and he will increase in learning. Yep. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding. Because the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. Alright? Because that's really the root of it. Alright? A wise man has fear. He has fear in him. It's in his DNA. Right? Talking about the elect. Right? Lord willing, we're those men coming back. The first fruits that were with Yahushua from the creation of the earth in Genesis 1 and 2. They understand the fear of Yahuwah Shem Yahushua. You know, in its true understanding, they have that fear. So they're gonna make the necessary changes. You know, they didn't really. Yeah, as a matter of fact, let me ask Google something right now. Reprove meaning. Reproof meaning, an expression of the disapproval or criticism, often in a form of a rebuke. There you have it. A reprimand for a fault or bad behavior. It can be an action like a sharp look or disapproval, or a spoken or written statement, such as in a mild telling off. Right? These are examples there. There you have it, Akim. So this is as a matter of fact, so rebuke. That's reprove. Yeah, there is basically it. Rebuke or reprimand for a fault or bad behavior. Alright, let's see what the etymology says. Disapprove, condemn, fault with, reprove. Let's go to the definition on the origin. Let's find the yep, online. Etymology online says reprove, charge of a fault. See what it says in the old English. In the Latin, how you pronounce it there? Reprover. In the old French, reprover. In the Latin, reprove bar. Disapprove. There you have it, Akim. Admonish. Disapprove. In the in the Old English. In the French, reprove, accuse, blame. In the Latin, reproba. So I just want to get in. This is the opportunity to get into some words, right? Because with the Genesis, they've been told for years, right? And Sikari, the former head of Sikari, Al-Azhar, he was told for years about those fitted caps, and ultimately the Most High disapproves of it, and it was mentioned. It's also mentioned in Corinthians. Apostle Paul addressed it specifically. Addressed the wearing of the caps, the hats, specifically, is a shame for a man to be covering his head. It's not necessary. And he goes down the line on women, but it was an instruction, it was a reprove, and they haven't changed their attitude. As a matter of fact, this is their attitude. Proverbs chapters 9 and 7. This is their attitude. He that reproveth a scorner getteth to himself shame, and he that rebuketh a wicked man getteth himself a blot. Right? Let's just see. Some nice meat in here to just get into some of the words, the Greek and the Latin. Lord willing to edify the church out there. For those who don't know, I'm interested in this one here. A blot. Getteth himself a blot. So H3771. 3971 rather. Blemish, spot, defect. Right? This is what happens. You get stained. They try to anyway. That's coming against the elders and the apostles, the bishops, because they resent. Right? Hence why they're wearing the cap and doing rapping in pride. Trying to just dig their heels in pride. Right? Talking about the Genesis and the former head of Sakari camp, and now the new one now is Elder Zabak, making false allegations unless he can have proof that he was threatened by GMS. He said he was threatened by some brothers of GMS for something to do with what was last said about some statement. Lord willing, it come back to me anyway. So yeah, they're trying to. This is their attitude. Blemish, blot. Right? When you curse them out and you put them on the spot, yeah, he tried to deny the fact that about the just come to me now that the heathens, his way of explaining it, that's there's a remnant going to be saved in the heathens, whereas the scriptures doesn't say there's any remnant that is going to be saved, and he tried to clarify it, right, in his own words, and he said on top of that, because he didn't like the fact that he was called out, right, saying that there's going to be a remnant of Edomites that are going to be saved. Same what the Genesis are saying, there's going to be a remnant a remnant of heathens that will be saved. The scriptures doesn't back that up. He was called out to clarify, and that's how he said it, man. And there's no backing on his behalf. So he dug his heels in. On top of that, he started to make up bear false witness that there's been men in GMS that have actually tried to threaten his life, and we're waiting for the comeback. We're waiting for the evidence. Right, bring the evidence forth, otherwise it will be held against you as bearing false witness, making up false allegations against the true men of the Lord, and the Most High take that seriously. So that's the blot that he's trying to put out there. He's trying to. So scorner, right? We're not scorner with. He that reproveth. Right, we just looked at the word there, but in the Google, but discipline, instruct, admonish, right? And you're being instructed in the wise way, in the right way. So if you was wise, you would accept it. Clean up your act. Rearrange your statement. Pull back that statement and come back, correct the statement, and make the the right statement regarding the heathens. Alright, so you didn't like the fact that you've been called out. Now, brothers are saying that you're alright. You know, elders saying that you're alright on the whole. But this is what's making you look bad right now, you know? Bearing false witness, saying that certain men in GMS have threatened your life. I mean, that will not be tolerated, as we know, as what the elders are saying. If that was the case, they will be booted out of the truth, right, for doing such a thing, because that's not condoning GMS, right? The reputation that we have, we want to uphold, and you've got people like scorners and scoffers trying to bear false witness, as we looked at the word, trying to put a blot, trying to put a blot, right, on the reproof, resenting the reproof. The word here, blot. I'm gonna get back to it again. H3971. Right, trying to make a moral stain, for being reproved, resentment. Right, hence why Genesis as well, right, wearing their fitted caps in pride, right? Just because of their pride is why they're behaving the way they are, right? And there's the point. That's really just the point. Got into some of them words there. He that reproveth a scorner getteth to himself shame, and he that rebuketh a wicked man getteth himself a blot. Reprove not a scorner, lest he hate thee. This doesn't mean not to reprove him. It means this is going to be the reactions when you do reprove him. Obviously, that's open rebuke is better than secret love. He's just showing, yeah, reprove him by all means. Same way you don't withhold the rod from a child, right? Don't withhold the rod from a child. As a matter of fact, let's ask a question here. Come back to that just to make the point. Rod. How much time does it show up in the scriptures? Rod. Because basically, when you reprove, it's you're bringing forth a rod of correction. Occurs 86 times in 81 times in Bible verses. You know the specific verse we're looking for. Let's go. The rod, there it is. Let's go to it. Foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction shall drive it far from him. Here's the one. Proverbs 23:13 says, withhold not correction from a child. Right, so we don't withhold. Right, open rebuke is better than secret love. Same way you apply the same principle with a child. It's all from the foundation of it. The root of it is through love. Withhold not correction from a child, for it thou beateth him with the rod, he shall not die. Here you have it, Akim. If thou beateth him with the rod, he shall not die. Yeah, perfect. So, as a matter of fact, one thing I just want to go to rod. Thou beateth him. Not correction. Well, there you go. That's another word for rod. With the rod. Hold on, let's see. Staff, right, or branch. Some of us, right, brought under certain households, you know, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. As a matter of fact, most of the tribes, or all of the tribes, are serious about the rod, the staff, the branch. You know, the parents said, right, we're gonna go and get the branch or the rod. Now you know you're gonna get that discipline. There you have it, right? And in the police force, they have a club. Right, we heard a lot about the club in the civil rights era, right? You know, with the marches, and there was a lot of them. Even you could see them. You can pull them up now on YouTube. You can see them. The marches in the 60s, late 50s, early 60s, 70s. They was using They was abusing it. The what they call today the police. Yeah, police, and there was another word for them, slave hunters. That's the original word for them, slave hunters, police. So they was abusing this, right? The rod, and this gets abused, right? When it comes to, certain authorities, as we know it, it's all documented. So we don't abuse it. There's another thing as well. We don't abuse that authority, that rod or club, staff, offshoot, right? Because there's a lot of abuse that be happening too in certain childhoods. with certain people, with certain parents, abusive parents, and it's a serious consequences for over abuse or overuse of the rod, right, or overuse of exploitation, right, just to bring the balance. There's a punishment for that as well, consequences for that, using the rod or abusing the rod, but not to withhold the rod, as it says there. We're not supposed to withhold the rod, because that, when you use it in its right place, in its correct place, you're gonna pull the child back from dying, from death, major death, in certain consequences, running in the road. You grab him, you withhold him from getting hit by a car, and it's similar like scenarios. Holding him back from death, using the rod. You get the idea. Oh, there's another one here, scepter, right? And Judah has the scepter, the rod, shall not depart from the scepter, or the staff shall not depart from Judah, right? Symbolizing rulership, right? And the ultimate ruler is Yahushua. And this is not that video, but we're looking forward to the return of Yahushua. And that's the grand finale. When that rod is going to be used justly, the rod or the lasers from the chariots, people going to get lasered up, the two-footed around people, because they need the rod. They need to be lasered up. And all the heathens that are wicked, apart from the elite that going to be spared, going under the bunkers, hiding, as the scriptures say, saying, hide me from the rod, right, from Yahushua. That judgment is here, right? That's the controversy that Yahushua is going to come back with that scepter, right? The rulership, and we're going to be ruled rightly, justly, and all the wicked have to be judged rightly and justly, and that's perfect balance. Righteous judgment is perfect balance with the Lord. Yeah, so that's the point there. The scepter, Yahushua coming back to use the scepter, the rod on the wicked. That's the point. And there's another word, one more word, Lord willing, making a point, edifying point here. The rod is another word for the rod is the rod of correction. So some of us who grew up in the household know about that. So that's H41, 48. Correction, discipline. Enough said. Chastising. Right? Chastising, correction. I just want to hear something here.
Strong's H 4148. Musar.
That's how it's described there. But discipline, correction, which is the rod. Now, we can get back to the original scripture. Lord willing, the point was made though. Correction. Don't withhold. Hold on. Like I say, using this opportunity to get into some more of these words and definitions, how to explain them, some of them in the Greek too. Withhold, right? So if you don't reprove a scorner, or you don't bring out the rod for the child, right? You're withholding, a little bit of honey. You know what I mean? Obviously, we're not going to overdo the honey, but withholding the benefits of the good thing. H4513. Withholding the benefits of the good thing. Withhold, back, keep back, refrain, deny, keep, restrain, hinder. Right? And we, once again, open rebuke is better than secret love. That's the point. I don't want to oversell it. I believe that's all I need to bring out here. Right? So here it is, bringing out the balance, not to withhold the rod or the chastisement, the reproof, to hold him back from discipline. That's the point right there. not to restrain. But use it in balance. Obviously, everything is in balance. So that's the point we spoke about there. The rod. Without withhold not correction from a child for it. For if thou beateth him with the rod, he shall not die. Right. So when you get reproved, Kazakh, which is he's been around a long time, but you're being met by the truth. Equal up with it. That's all I can say about that. According to the scriptures, level up with it, because they're looking out for your life, withholding you from running in the middle of the road. Same way a young child who is unaware, doesn't understand, he's being withheld, right? Not to continue in that down that road. You're gonna get hit, right? So that's love. Open rebuke is better than secret love, right? Thou shalt not. Right here, one more. Proverbs 23 and 40 says, "Thou shalt beat him with the rod, and shall deliver his soul from hell." Can you say any more? Thou shalt beat him with the rod, and shall deliver his soul from hell. That's another whole nother video here talking about the rod. Mentioned occurs 86 times in 81 verses. And the benefit of the rod is that you're withholding him from being deleted. Thou shalt beat him with the rod, and shall deliver his soul from hell. Right? Being deleted ultimately. Symbolically speaking there. So, just wanted to make that point there. What is reproof? Once again, reproof in the etymology, we looked at that already. An expression of disapproval, criticism, often in the form of a rebuke or reprimand for a fault or bad behavior. And if you take heed, what does the wise man do? Go back to it. Proverbs chapters 9 and 7. He that reproveth a scorner getteth himself shame, but he that rebuketh a wicked man getteth himself a blot. Reprove not a scorner, lest he hate thee. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love thee. So for all of us that are taking heed, continue on. Take heed, man. That's that you're embracing the love of Yehovah Hashem Yahushai. That's that love. But for those that don't, right, we see the consequences already. Right, don't dig your heels in, man. You know, the Most High uses the deceiver and the deceiver. Right, he uses good examples and bad examples. Right, so we heard of the paganator, all these words that they got for them because I didn't. Paganator, right? Genesis, the beginning of the end for them. And the last one now, Zabachin, is probably going to be a lot more. Right? Don't bear false witness, man. Right? That's the results of not heeding to wise reproof. Right? Reprove not a scorner, lest he hate thee. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love thee. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be yet wiser. Yep. Teach a just man, and he will increase in learning. And here's really the point. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. Right? Because the elect are ultimately the hopeful elect, have that deep understanding because they have that fear of the Lord. That's where the wisdom is. True fear of the Lord is where wisdom is. That's the point. Until the next one.